It's day 11, no more Colindo Roulette, which is great because that's less editing for me to do. We do have the Forever Prayer, and I get Kaguya, who isn't super good festival unit but quite old one. I'm not gonna take her. I was doing farming overnight as usual, and I now have enough yellow books to max out Yachie's skill, which will give her a full additional power on turn 1. I also start maxing her first skill, because that will give her 2 accuracy on turn 1, and 2 is the magic number for accuracy, most of the time. When burning books, I use these regular golden books to train the skill, and then I use everything else to burn. So I can use these to burn, or these, or whatever. It doesn't really matter, because most of the books are being used for burning when you speed train like this. So, and this book is the most time efficient. The golden books provide 1200 EXP per 8 hours or 1800 per 12 hours. That's the same EXP to time ratio, but these golden X books actually have a better for shortening, because they provide 60 minutes instead of these which provide 10 minutes. So I prefer to use these for shortening and use these for training. Now I've used, I believe, 15 of these regular gold books to level the skill, and then now she has 1700 EXP left, so I'm gonna use one golden X book, which is gonna be just about enough to fully max out the skill. And with these new skills maxed, I can one-turn Lunatic Yooka-Lee quite consistently. With the 2-turn setup, like I said, there was a chance of failure, and I did fail one time. I didn't get a recording, but because of Yukari's evasion stacking. She can stack lots of evasion over 2 turns, and then you can miss lots of shots. Now I just need to clear a couple more stages, and then I can try farming Wits of Scarlet Dreams. When clearing a 3-wave stage with 2 characters, we can use the full auto strategy of putting accuracy into yin attack on your off-story cards on your spell cards, or you could just use a bunch of these all targeting spell cards on turn 1 to clear out the first wave, and then use one last word for each wave. This can work for harder stages where the full auto strategy might not work. And it's also faster, but of course the full auto setup is the most convenient. And we've reached the Witch of Scarlet Dream stage, which is chapter 2, episode 7, part 1. That's why it's called 271 on Lunatic. And we do have a slight problem, so Yachie's third skill is not maxed yet. I don't really have the materials to max it right now, and I don't have the optimal story cards. You want this to be maxed out. You want Midnight Tea here instead of It's Spring, and these stat sticks aren't the best. These are just +6 stat sticks, and this Overwhelming Firepower wants to be maxed as well, but we'll see. But I am pink heart, and this is possible at a purple heart with the rest of the requirements, so let's see if I will be able to make this work anyway. In order to successfully complete or farm this stage, I will need to full break Marissa. She's weak to wood, and my last word is all wood, so that my last word can do a lot of breaks, but if I just use it now, I won't full break her, I won't have enough damage, so I'm gonna have to do some setup for it. I'm gonna be using skills 1 and 2 for some accuracy, yin agility, yin defense, spirit power, and all this is gonna help my last word's damage, because my last word has slicing and hard, so which means that the yin defense as well as agility is gonna increase the damage that it deals. So I do want to set up as much yin defense and agility as I can, as well as yin attack of her, so when Yachie boosts, or when Yachie grazes, she gains yin attack because of a character ability. So I'm grazing 3 times, and then I'm using spell card 2 with Overwhelming Firepower, which is also boosting my yin attack. And this spell card also has an effect of giving me agility up. And I'm using this for 1 wood break, so I'm setting up a lot of buffs basically, and I'm using this 1 wood break to break one of enemy Marissa's barriers, because I do need to break 1 of them from the spell card, and then break 6 of them, the remaining 6 with my last word, in order to remove her defensive buffs and kill her. So that's the gimmick of this stage. The enemies like to stack lots of yin and yang defense buffs as well as crit defense, and a good way to remove them or get around it is to full break the enemies. On turn 2, I will be using my third skill. I didn't use it last turn because it regains a barrier, so if I used it last turn, I wouldn't gain the barrier because I was maxed out on barriers. So I gain a barrier, I graze it away to gain the yin attack, and I'm going to be using spell card 4 to keep on boosting my agility as well as deal damage to the Fire Fairy. My last word is all wood, so which means that the Fire Fairy will resist it and take half damage because of the elemental resistance. So if I don't do a bit of damage beforehand, the Fire Fairy might end up surviving, and that will be bad. So now enemy Marissa has 6 barriers left and I have a bunch of buffs, so I am going to use my last word, and that will full break and kill enemy Marissa, and hopefully the Fire Fairy will die as well. You can see the damage number shoot up when she's full broken and the defensive buffs are removed. Unfortunately the Fire Fairy survived here, so that's not great because then the Fire Fairy will shoot me and can possibly kill me. So I'm just gonna use a focus shot here, a bunch of focus shots, and save that into the replay, and hopefully because I'm still level 96 or something, when I level up a bit then maybe the Fire Fairy will just die, or when I level up my 3rd skill then I can make this more consistent. On the bright side, if the replay failed then I know what the most likely problem is. I level Yachie's skill up as much as possible to level 8 and just run some replays and we'll see if it fails. Unfortunately I got a fail quite early on at run number 3, so it looks like it's pretty inconsistent. The Fire Fairy survived my last word and killed me on the following turn. But I realized Yachie used the spread shot there and not the focus shot, which is water and has a better chance of killing the fairy on the following turn. And I think I forgot to save the replay when I used the focus shot on turn 4, so the replay that I ran had only 3 turns, which is why the AI just used the spread shot. So I'm gonna save another replay with Yachie using the focus shot on turn 4, and we'll see if that works out, because on turn 4 so you can use a focus shot and kill the Fire Fairy before getting killed. I failed again on run 16 and I thought of a possible fix, but then I decided to just keep on running it, and maybe the 1 or 2 levels I gain will make it consistent. And it did, so I went another 89 runs without fail, so right now it's about 99% consistency. If the run became inconsistent and I wanted to fix it, I could add someone like Journal. So Journal has a bunch of water element, which means that she can break the barriers of this Fire Fairy. So let's say I use the spell card, I'm using barrier up so that she can have enough barriers and doesn't die. So I'm using that spell card to do some water breaks to this fairy, break some of the barriers as well. Oh shoot time. And on Yachie, I'm gonna do the same thing as normal. I will use the skills, the boost, and use the same all spell card. So basically, the problem was that the Fire Fairy wasn't dying, and the solution is to use Journal, who can break the Fire Fairy's barriers and full break the Fire Fairy, so that the Fire Fairy will take more damage and the Fire Fairy will die. So at turn 2, again I'm just using accuracy card this time to make sure I hit. Last turn I needed to gain an additional barrier, so I used the barrier up card and now I'm using accuracy card. And on Yachie I'm doing the exact same thing, use the skill, grace, and the same spell card. So now the Fire Fairy will be full broken by Journal. There we go, perfect freeze. And its Fire Fairy will be stunned, the defensive buffs will be gone, and Yachie's last word will take out all the enemies this time. Fire Fairy does not stand a chance. And if you watch carefully at the damage, you can see how the damage number jumps up on the last tick when Altarisa gets full broken and the defensive buffs are removed. The reason why I'm farming this card first isn't because it's necessarily like the easiest card to farm. It's because it's universally good and it's used in the setups for farming many of the other cards, and every new player gets a medicine who can very easily farm this with a low story card requirements, even though it costs 10 spirit points per run instead of 8, because you do need to awaken medicine to 3 stars. At max limit break, the card will give 2 spirit power. That's very important for boosting. So when you boost, you get more damage, basically you get more bullet lines, so you can deliver more breaks, deal more damage, etc. And basically every character needs spirit power. So that's why the card is universally good. At this point, we're pretty much out of the early game. We have 2 max characters, and it's going to be a lot of routine stuff from now on, like grinding events, grinding story cards, grinding for seal crystals. So this series is quickly coming to an end. Tomorrow, I guess we'll see if we can farm a couple other story cards like Mysterious Swordmaster, And yeah, see you guys around.